All right, welcome. This is another episode of Being Well with Beth, and I have the wonderful Linda here today with me. And I will let Linda introduce herself here in a moment, but I just want to say that I've known Linda over the course of the year, and she was a student aide for me in the wellness area, and she was phenomenal, and I learned so much from Linda and getting to work with her. I just learned so much from you, and so I appreciate your perspective, which is why I wanted to bring you on today, as you are wonderful in every sort of way, but also you have a unique perspective in the sense that you are considered a non-traditional student by a specific term, but you are more than just a non-traditional student. So I think you have a wonderful perspective, and just want to ask you a few questions, as I think a lot of students at Harper who might be going back to college, or maybe they currently are in college and they've just taken a different path. I really want to ask you a few questions about your pathway. And so without further ado, I'll have you introduce yourself and then maybe give us a little bit of a background of where you started and maybe some of the different jobs that you worked in, then your transition prior to coming to Harper.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am.
My name is Linda. I am, as you stated, a non-traditional student at Harper. I met Beth through the wellness department, and this has been an experience, to say the least. I say for the last 20 years, I worked in property management. I was a property manager. Um, and I just decided I needed a change. Times changing, health issues, getting older. So I wanted to do something different, and I decided to go to Harper. I've always been interested in personal training. And so I saw that you had a great personal training classes. And so I decided to go there, met with Jonathan, who's great, very knowledgeable, kind of took me by my hand because it's all new and it's been a long time since I've been in class, and it's just a whole different atmosphere, going from not being in school over 40 years to going back and seeing the changes, that especially the learning curve is just completely different for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that you have the perspective that you worked in property management, you worked in retail in a lot of different areas, and you sort of, I don't want to misquote you, but I remember you saying one time, like, this is your time. This is
my second act.
Yes, your second act. And I think that is just so phenomenal, right? Like, I think a lot of us put timelines on our life saying, oh, I can't do that because I'm such and such age, or I have to be married, or, have kids by such and such age, or, whatever it is. And I think a lot of times we put timelines on ourselves, but I have really been in awe of you because you've really pushed back on that narrative and say, no, this is my second act and this is what I want to do.
Yes, because it's like with, my kids are very supportive, and it's like, Mom, it's your turn. And so I always look at it like this is the second act, and I've met many other non-traditional students that really feel like they have nowhere to turn, and it's like, I'm not the spokesman for them, but they're always telling me, it's like, okay, we need a committee. We need something where our concerns are met too. And a lot of the older non-traditional students feel that their needs are not being met.
And thinking about that, can you expand a little bit more of what you mean by their needs not being met? Like, whether it's examples through your own experience at Harper or just interactions with other students?
I think it's more so interaction with other students. When you see, a lot of times I'm mistaken for staff or a teacher, because, and I know that has to do with my age, but to just be recognized, it's almost like you're invisible.
Wow.
Because they feel, a lot of the classes that you have, I kind of look at, we have that experience of working it. Like you said, I was a property manager. I worked as a receptionist. I did customer service. So a lot of things that they're going over, we've experienced that already. And you look at some of it and you'd be like, okay, it's just really real world that you're showing them, because it's not always real world. Everything is not textbook.
Right.
And for, I think some of the instructors just go by the textbook. And when you have been out there in the real world, you'd be like, no, this is not really how it is. And to
Sure.
have someone that have been out there and experienced that. So a lot of times when they do get out there, they're shell shocked because they're going by the textbook, so
Yeah.
I could babble on, but let me stop.
No, I think that's a really interesting perspective. And I think what you said about being invisible really struck me, right?
Yeah.
That whether people are intentional, or I guess not intentional, whether people know it or not, you know, there are more than just Linda's on campus, right? There are more
Yeah.
than just you on campus. And so to know that, I think it's important, because we shouldn't be mistaking students for staff. We shouldn't assume that they are just
Yeah.
faculty or
Yeah.
staff just because they're older, that, we're serving a wide variety of students who are coming from a lot of different experiences
Yeah.
and perspectives. So that to me really struck me.
Yeah, because when you look at a lot of the different committees and clubs, there's nothing really geared towards older adults or non-traditional students. And it's like some place where they feel that if they speak with someone, they can understand where they're coming from instead of from a different viewpoint. A lot of times it is difficult to juggle. Some people are juggling work and going back to school. I happen to be lucky where I'm just going back to school, but I'm dealing with health issues. So you have a different dynamic.
Sure.
And for the students to know that there's someone they can reach out to, through you and a couple of other people. Amelia, I found out about ADS, and they were able to help me because, like you said, having health issues, you don't know where you can turn.
Right.
you
And
have
for
a lot you have a lot of people that have certain maybe little illnesses or things going on, and they feel that they can't do it or they won't have the support because of that. So they put off longer and longer going back to school.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point. For those who maybe don't know the acronym ADS, it stands for Access and Disability
Mm-hmm.
Services. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions, right? I
Yeah,
think people with chronic conditions or illnesses think that access and disability services isn't for them, but really ADS can help with a broad
a
spectrum
variety.
of
Yes.
things. And so I know in your case, that was really important to
Yeah.
meet with them and know that they can help assist with accommodations for people who might have different illnesses or chronic conditions. So I think that
Yeah.
is important, especially not just for older students, but
But for
anyone in
anyone,
general.
yeah.
Yeah. But also you spoke to Amelia. Can you talk a little bit about Amelia and why that connection was important for you?
With her, everyone has been such a great support system for me. I met her through OMD, which 1 million degrees. Um, so she was able to reach out and just, get me in touch with a lot of different other facilities, a lot of things that were open for me. And once she realized that, I'm a non-traditional student, I need assistance in certain things. They don't need the same thing I say a younger student will need.
Mm-hmm.
And she was able to guide me. She let me know about the food pantry, all the other different things that Harper do offer that the majority of people do not know about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I've spoken with different students, different non-traditional students, and I've let them know about the different functions, and they're really, really pushing to get something going because they
Mm-hmm.
want to be heard too.
Yeah. Which I think is, I've been telling you for a long time, we need to get something going for those non-traditional students. So whether it be a club or organization, but I think, just knowing that folks like Linda exist, I think there are probably people who are sitting in classes or maybe even people contemplating coming to Harper saying, oh, I don't know if this is for me. But in reality, there are multiple Lindas out there, and they exist, and that you're not alone, right?
Yeah.
And so I think you've been a huge advocate of connecting yourself with other students who maybe have taken a different path. And so I think that's important to know that you're not alone. There are other people out there and other non-traditional students. And so, so thinking about that, I think another question that I wanted to ask, and you've sort of answered that throughout our time so far, but I guess what were some of the biggest challenges for you when you started to take classes as a student at Harper, especially kind of your experience coming
back? One of my biggest challenges was, I'm not going to say the computer per se, because I've always used the computer for work. I was never one to really watch it. It's like, I'm one of those people, I get, my phone's in my purse, someone calls me, I'll be like, oh, I missed a call. And so the fact that they use so much of the media, so much computer access, is like, I'm still one of those people, I like to feel a paper in my hand.
Yeah.
I like hardback books. I like to be able to, save this, put it up. And I'm getting older, I can always go back and read it later. It's like I'm reading a new book. But it's to have the access, a lot of people don't have the computer access.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be simple to one person, but it's like basically what I did, I ran a lot of reports and things like that. So I know how to work it, but I knew the basics, and that was as far as work is concerned. As far as study, I was never one that I could just sit in front of a computer all day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things my manager used to always get on me. She'd be like, Linda, you didn't check your email, or it's the thing that when I get home, people have called me all day, and it's like I've cut my ringer off because I don't want people calling at work. And I'd be like, oh, I missed 5 phone calls. Right. And so we're, the challenges of just with the computers, the electronics that they're using constantly, everyone is not computer savvy.
Yeah.
And so I'm lucky that I have kids that be like, Mom, this is how you do it.
Which I think is important, because I think a lot of times we assume that everyone knows how to do certain things. And so I think having that knowledge that students are coming to campus with a lot of different skills and assets and different experiences, but we can't always assume that they automatically know how to run a certain program or how to do a certain thing, because they're coming from different generations.
Because I'm trying to remember, it's this one app that, you log in with your phone and you ask you questions and you answer, and it's like, by the time I get the login thing together, it's like class is almost over with. It's like, okay, everyone is first of all, I have to get the phone out my backpack because I don't care, it's not an extension of me.
Right.
Because you see a lot of people now, their phone is an extension of them. My phone is like in my backpack, and maybe at the bottom of my backpack. So by the time you're telling everybody to log in, I'm still like going through my books looking for my phone. Right. And, by the time I put the answer in, it's like everybody else has done theirs. And I'm like, okay, fine.
So patience and making sure that we don't make assumptions.
And it's so important, because I think one of the students, I was like, what you guys don't seem to understand is that you guys were born in the computer generation. We did not have computers until like the 70s or 80s. Mm-hmm. So it was nothing that, we didn't grow up with that. We wasn't taught that in, high school or grammar school. And I look at my grandkids and it's like, it can go through anything on my phone. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have that at that time. And to just respect the differences in that, and some of the instructors have to be, as you stated, maybe a little bit more patient. Mm-hmm. because for a lot of people it is intimidating,
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
But we're coming back. I look at how the times are changing, and as I say, this is my second act, and you have a lot of people just through life in general that need to go back to school. Jobs are being, people are being laid off. They have to start over,
Mm-hmm.
and it is intimidating. And I felt welcome, maybe because I talk to everybody, but
Well, I mean, the flip side of that, so we talked about maybe some of the barriers, but I know you don't like talking about yourself, but I think what are some of the strengths that you feel like you, but also maybe some other non-traditional students bring to the table that maybe others don't understand or aren't thinking of at the moment?
for one, it's like I think I grew up in a generation where I'm a people person, and like I said, it goes back to everybody being on the social networks. We would not. When I was social, it was because I was talking to you. It was, and so they don't have that, and it's like to get used to having to meet people one on one, and we're losing that personal contact. We don't have that anymore because it's like you look at a lot of the different interviews, they're on Zoom. You don't get that personal feeling. And I tell people, it's like even when you're going out for a job, you're being interviewed by that person that's going to hire you, but you also interviewing that person that you may work for,
Mm-hmm.
because they may want you, but you may not always be that perfect fit.
Right.
And so we miss a lot of that now. And we just, I don't know, to me, it's kind of scary because, we're looking at a lot of the things that's going on now as far as we talk about like diversity and, all the things that's going on. And for me, it's just kind of scary the way, the times that we're in because a lot of times they will look at their resume and you get the opportunity to meet a person, face to face, and then you get that feeling it's just the right person. Now a lot of times while you doing it on video, you don't get to meet that person, and that person has made that judgment before
Mm-hmm.
they even got a chance to meet you.
Yeah.
Because we all, well, I think it's just me, but but I've never been a person on camera. I don't know, I'm kind of quiet, be quiet, but I'm kind of quiet. But everyone doesn't come off on video maybe the way they would in person.
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know, so it's to teach them the difference and a lot of the things to be realistic. We look at things a little bit more realistically. Non-traditional students because we've been out there with the work, in the working world, and we know the pros and cons, and we always give them the pros, but we also need to teach them the cons too.
mm-hmm. Which I think is important, especially as 18 or 19-year-old
Yeah.
students come in. I think really looking at you all who have had the experience, I think sometimes younger students might not think that they can relate to older individuals, but in reality, I would want to try and learn as much as I could from you
Yeah.
if you're in my class because you have a perspective that I don't. So I think that's really important. The words that you just said is because I encourage not just non-traditional students to make connections with one another, but also if you're a student who is fresh out of high school, turn to your students who might be a little bit older because they probably have information that maybe you don't.
Sharing
That could be
knowledge is
helpful.
really important because I have to laugh. Sometimes I hear, I'm not gonna say from any students, but from some of my younger family members, that they feel that, the older person, that we're stuck in our ways and we don't know how to change and how we don't, how we're just stubborn. And the thing is that things are new and you have to be patient sometimes with us because it is new. And a lot of times we look at things, it's like, okay, it worked the old way. Why do we need to change it? When sometimes you just need to open your horizons,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, even with, I never look at younger people. It's like, I'm gonna always share my knowledge if you're willing to take it. And it's like, I'm gonna tell you, and it's like, what you do with it is up to you,
Right.
basically. You know.
The next question I have for you, which relates to what you're just saying, what do you want students, faculty, or staff to know about you as a person who is a non-traditional student at Harper?
Mm, that, sorry about that. I am so sorry. See, that's what I tell you about phones. It's like, what need to be over there. Basically, just to be a little bit patient with us. A lot of times, I don't know if it's because of what I'm going for. A lot of times I felt like you give a lot of times it's like the attention is really given to the other students. And it's like, no, we're not doing this because we just don't have anything to do.
Right.
It's like, so that same patience and that same guidance, especially if it's something new, we need that too. And just don't assume because we're older student that we know everything, because we don't. It's like, luckily, I was doing property management, it seemed like forever, but I've worked at Rush Hospital, so I've done medical, so I have put my foot in a couple of different things, so I have different experiences, which I think is a great thing. And I tell people all the time, I say, most people are going to switch careers at least 2 to 3 times in their lifetime. And it's like, luckily, everything that I did was kind of aligned, because it was all, I tell them, it's all customer service.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever you're dealing with a person, you are dealing with customer service. When I was a property manager, I was a customer service person, because I was, selling homes, making sure that homes was up to par. When I did retail, I was in customer service, and it's like, no, the customer's not always right, but it's but I was still doing customer service. And it's like, we have to, for one, learn how to respect each other. And it's all fine if you treat people the way you want people to treat you. A lot of things won't even be the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I don't. We're not as mean. We're about everybody.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of older people is about the whole spectrum. We're not a me generation. We have some that are, so I don't want to make it seem like we are, we are special. I don't know it's your favorite word.
Special. Oh.
But I don't know, just for the instructors to listen to us, and just sometimes we're invisible to them too, because they feel we know.
Thinking, and to go along with that, it's one of my last questions I have for you is, what advice do you have for other non-traditional students who might be thinking about going back to college or who are currently taking classes?
Go for it. It's like, just keep your mind open. It's this has been a nice ride. I'm enjoying myself. It's different. And sometimes, yes, it is a little scary. But, luckily, we have certain instructors, we have certain people that you can reach out to, but you have a lot of people in the rec center that you can really reach out to, which is a good thing, going from Julie to everyone there. You can reach out to, even in the rec center, you can go up there and you can talk to someone there. You have the counselors, there's always someone to talk to. And those that have been interested in wanting to do something for the non-traditional students, you guys, all you have to do is let someone know, and it'll be done. You just have to participate.
Yes. Yeah. And just knowing that you have the perspective that it is scary at times, but at the same time, you're not alone is really
Yeah,
an important message, that there are
yeah,
so many others, maybe from different experiences and different ages, but also different professionals on campus who are
yeah,
here to assist. And not everyone's going to be helpful all the time, but I would say, maybe I'm biased, but there are a lot of professionals at Harper who want to help in any way that they can.
yeah. And it's just a thing of knowing that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've noticed too, that you do have like the non-traditional students, but you also have a lot of non-traditional students in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really being reached out to
Mm-hmm.
because some of us still do have to work, and so we're taking these evening classes and we're feeling like we're being stretched on both ends for them to know that it's all worth it in the end,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Thank you for that, Linda. Anything else that you'd want to share before I conclude our session?
Oh no, not really. No.
All right. Well, thank you, Linda. You are a wonderful human being. I have learned so much from you, and it's been a pleasure to have you around this past year when we were able to work together on campus, but also just a lot of laughs with one another and
Yeah.
some looks, and I know what you're thinking, you know what I'm thinking, sort of things.
Yeah, it was a good connection, and like I say, I will forever be grateful for this to you for when I was being stubborn and wanted to go home because and more ways than when you saved my life. So, you
Well,
know.
thank you, Linda. You have enriched my life, and I am just so thankful for knowing you, but also for sharing your perspective about your experience thus far. And hopefully there are other students out there who can hear your message and learn something from it as well.
Like
So
I say, all they have to do is reach out. Her name is Beth in the South.
all right. Well,
Yes.
have a wonderful evening, Linda, and I will chat
Okay.
with you later.
And
Thank
you
you.
too. It's been a pleasure.